What's up, guys, and welcome to our Devo for this week. Today, we're going to be in Acts chapter 1, starting in verse 6. And I just want you guys to think about, what is our real purpose? What is the focus of what we're doing? I'm not a Patriots fan by any stretch of the imagination, but the Super Bowl was this week, and I was just hearing some interviews before the Super Bowl was starting, and Drake May was talking, and he was saying how it helps him so much to realize and remember that his purpose is not just about football. He has a much greater commission, a much greater purpose. Jesus has given him to be a light in the opportunity of football, to be on the stage of football where everybody's watching him and people can see how he can glorify God, win or lose, whatever happens in the game. He can be on the stage for that reason, to glorify God and to ultimately show people who he is, show people his great salvation. And I think it helps us in our sport so much when we realize our job and our identity is not just in our sport. We have a greater commission. And that's what this part in Acts is talking about. So the disciples are with Jesus. They basically had 40 days with him post-resurrection, and they're learning all these things. He's telling them that he had taught them before and what's going to be happening. And they ask this question. It says, "So when they had come together, they asked him, 'Lord, at this time, are you going to restore the kingdom to Israel?'" So they thought he was going to establish this great kingdom. They thought he was going to overthrow Rome. They thought the work was over. It was finished. They were going to rule and reign now with God. And he was going to establish that rule and reign right there on earth with them. But they had misunderstood. Let's look at the next verse. It says, "He said to them, 'It is not for you to know the times or the periods that the Father has set by his own authority. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you.'" And I'm going to stop right there halfway through that verse. So essentially, we know that the disciples still have work to do. Jesus isn't just going to establish his kingdom right there. He's going to rule and reign. It's all going to be over. It's going to be the great happy ending they all thought it was going to be. Now, it's great. The work was finished on the cross. The work of salvation, the work of him conquering sin and death was done on the cross, but there was still work to do so people could know the good news of Christ. So they didn't know he was sending him their spirit so that he could work through them. The first thing is that they have a mission, they have a commission. But the first thing you need to see is that the commission isn't for us to do. It's not for you to do on your own strength. It's that the Spirit of God will empower you to fulfill that mission. We have a greater mission than just our sport. We have a greater mission in this world to share the love of Christ. And it's not just on our own strength that we do that. It's by the Spirit that we do that. Then the next part of that verse, it says, "And you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." Witnesses simply means to tell of what you've seen. To say, this is what I've seen, this is what I know to be true. Let me tell you about it. And that's what we're called to be. Let me tell you what Christ has done in my own life. Let me tell you what I've seen. When John is writing in 1 John and all his letters, he says, what we have seen and heard, we declare to you. Because as the disciples, they had seen Jesus face to face. They had seen what he had done. They're saying, this is what he's done. This is what we've seen him do. And let me tell you about it. And in your own life, that's what you're called to do. That's your commission. Your greatest commission is to say, hey, this is what Jesus has done in my own life. Let me tell you about it. Let me tell you about what he has done. And it's to the ends of the earth. It's to everybody where you are right now and to the ends of the earth. Tell everybody of what you've seen and heard, what you have witnessed, what you've seen happen. And again, it's not by your own strength. We can take comfort and confidence in that, because if it was by our own strength, we would fail every single time. And I fail more than I should. But we need to be filled by the Spirit so that we can let him work in our lives so we can be witnesses. That is our greatest commission and our greatest call. If we focus on that, everything else as far as our sport and our life goes gets a whole lot easier. So hope that's an encouragement to you guys this week. Keep on changing the world.